All right, good morning, everyone. One moment here. So I am so excited to be speaking with you all today at AxCon 2024. My name is Amanda Hennel, and I am a Caucasian woman with long brown hair, and I am wearing a black shirt with white polka dots. And I am an accessibility subject matter expert and lead front-end developer at Signet Jewelers. And I have been with Signet Jewelers for almost 2 years, and I have specialized in accessibility for over 6 years. And today I am thrilled to share with you all on our journey at Signet as we embarked on a significant project. And that was migrating all of Signet sites from our legacy systems over to Angular. And with a key focus, of course, on our accessibility journey. In this journey, I will be sharing with you all today. It's not just about the technical migration, though of course I will be touching on that, but I wanted to tell our story of how we embraced accessibility at its core from the very beginning. And because a migration not only is an opportunity to transform our products, right? It's to transform us as a company, as a large digital organization, all while keeping accessibility front and center. So here's our agenda for today. It's segmented into 3 sections. So first I'll start with the project overview, where we'll dive into the transition to Angular. And it sets the stage for why this migration was not just necessary, but it was critical for our accessibility goals. And this section will also cover the scope of our initiative. Next, in the getting started, I will share the initial steps of our journey, which includes learning and growing together as, again, a large digital organization, along with migrating our design system. And then lastly, I'll cover the feature migration. So this focuses more on the technical side of things. So I will be covering specific accessibility requirements, acceptance criteria, and of course the Angular specs, along with the tools that we leverage. So here I'll start with introducing our project overview, focusing on essentially our initial transition. So transitioning to Angular, a legacy migration, this monumental project has us migrating 9 major e-commerce sites from our outdated systems to Angular. And so our goal originally was to modernize our platform, all while enhancing user experience, improving our own processes, and then finally ensuring that we are prioritizing accessibility at every stage. So as a huge digital organization, how the heck do we do that? Where do we start? And then transition is structured into 3 pillars. The first pillar is taking a proactive accessibility approach. So here we're embedding accessibility into our foundation, ensuring every component, every page that we migrate meets WCAG 2.1 AA compliance. It's about being proactive, not reactive in this approach. And I'll cover that strategy more in depth in a few slides. The second pillar is our team's collaboration and awareness. So we needed everybody to be on board. I'm going to be talking about what we've done to ensure collaboration within our teams because every role plays a crucial part, especially during a migration. And our cross-domain team, so our designers, our developers, our testers, our BAs, our project managers, all working closely together to ensure that best practices and the accessibility standards, they're not just met, but they're actually integrated into our very workflows. And I'll talk about the tools and processes that help our teams today. And the last pillar is a project goal. So our ambition is to redefine benchmarks in e-commerce through performance, usability, and inclusivity across all of our platforms. We're not just updating our technology, right? We are changing up our tech stack, but we're setting a new standard for what it means to be truly accessible. And with the technology available, we have the tools to make it happen and strive to stay accessible in the future. So this journey hasn't been without its challenges, but the progress can, of course, be measured since we started this journey. Go to the next slide here. We've added 783 JIRA user stories that included accessibility criteria and enhancements. And each story just represents a step forward in our mission. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, the journey, it required more than just, okay, everyone, let's jump on in and start rebuilding everything in Angular. No, this is a journey. It's required a foundational shift in our current process. So getting started was about building upon a culture of inclusivity from the ground up within a very large digital organization. So let's see how we laid the groundwork. So first and foremost, it was learning and growing together as a large digital organization. Me and my colleague Stephanie, and I'll probably be mentioning her a couple times during this presentation, we ran organization-wide accessibility trainings to ensure everyone, regardless of their role, understood the importance of web accessibility, its impact, and the guidelines that we wanted to strive to meet. So this was about creating a common language and understanding around accessibility. Next up, as part of the learning and growing, we recognized the importance of leadership. So to help guide our teams, we have many product teams at Signet Jewelers. We introduced a developer champion series. And Stephanie and I, we would meet with these dev champions once a week to cover accessibility trainings from, of course, a development standpoint. And so now each product team has their own champion, which is, again, a go-to expert in accessibility. So we are planning to expand this initiative to cover more domains in the near future. So we will have design champions, testing champions, and so on. We then have our domain collaboration. So as part of growing together, accessibility is, of course, achieved through collaboration, very large company. Our teams have ongoing discussions between design, development, testing, and product teams just to ensure that accessibility is considered at the early stages and, of course, every stages in our process. And then finally, moving forward together as a digital organization, we will continue to spread awareness and integrate proactive accessibility practices going forward, and as we learn and grow together. So as part of the learning and growing, we needed a place to start. And understanding and implementing accessibility is a journey that starts right from the design phase. And according to a DeQ study, 67% of accessibility issues can occur in the design phase. So recognizing that a significant portion of accessibility issues can be tracked that early on leads us to a more transformative approach in our process. And this process is known as shifting left. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first sentence here in the slide. Shifting left and integrating inclusive thinking and practices into product development as early as possible. So shifting left places accessibility at the front of the line. And rather than retrofitting accessibility after development, which can lead often to increased technical debt, sometimes a compromised user experience, but with a migration, a complete change in a tech stack is the perfect opportunity to start shifting left. So in turn, right, the proactive approach minimizes the need for costly and time-consuming revisions. And of course, this benefits us from a financial standpoint, but it also ensures accessibility is prioritized right from the start. So part of shifting left is building out our accessible design system. So for those who may not know, a design system is a set of standards that allow us to build at scale. We have large sites, many components. And so this design system, it includes foundational elements such as color, typography, iconography, and more that make up our websites. And so in our design system, we have both global and brand specific components that we use on our sites. Again, we have 9 sites that we've migrated all within their own, they have their own brand specific colors, needing to make sure that's all accounted for. So our components within our design system, they are split out into 6 categories. We have form elements, buttons and links, content, navigation, progress, and messaging. And our design system has been in place for a few years and includes right now 39 components in total. Now, originally, due to our legacy systems, all of these had to be built in HTML, not in Angular. So for this initiative, we had the perfect opportunity to review our components and rewrite them in Angular. And in that process, we were able to make accessible enhancements for our system. So next up, I'm going to show you all how we've transformed our components, starting from an accessibility evaluation. So in order to start the accessibility evaluation of our design system components, first we had our ally design review. So this is where we reviewed the current accessibility of all of our components within our design system. We researched each component, looking at the Authoring Practices Guide, or APG, for recommendations and any other insights that we can find on the best way to rebuild these components. We would then provide the feedback over to our design team and work with them on updating the component designs to be even more accessible. We then utilized automated testing of our existing components. And with the use of the automated tools, we would scan the components and report any issues that were flagged. And of course, while automated testing tools, they can catch many issues, we also performed manual testing of our existing components to ensure that we were checking for focus states, keyboard operability, and screen reader accessibility for both mobile and desktop. And of course, noting anything that could be improved. And then finally, we would provide allied development and design documentation in preparation of moving them over to Angular. So as we transitioned our design system components from HTML to Angular, we started off with building up the requirements. We reviewed them once again against the APG and even found ways to update some of our implementations that we made a while back. So for example, the APG had been updated for custom dropdowns. So we were able to update to a more recent implementation. Next up, we determined updates needed and made the required changes. So with a clear understanding of the accessibility standards required, we identified and implemented those updates. And then finally, we recorded component changes and updated the documentation within the design system for proper usage. So through this approach of migrating our components over to Angular, we've not only modernized our components, but also taken significant strides in enhancing accessibility, making our design system even more inclusive than it used to be. So I'd like to focus on the case study that shows our approach to enhancing accessibility within our design system components, the migration of the progress bar and stepper components from our design system. So throughout the migration, we followed development guidelines for all of our components. Consists of always using semantic HTML whenever possible, reviewing the ARIA implementation and screen reader support, which also included the third-party libraries, ensure keyboard operability and focus states, and testing with users with disabilities. Now, the two components on the right-hand side of the slide, we have the progress stepper at the top. This is a custom component. We noticed that while we had a screen reader readout implemented for the first two steps, we have shipping and billing. The user had to swipe in mobile to the shipping link and then swipe to it again to actually hear the status. So for example, in mobile, the user would swipe shipping and hear shipping announced. They would have to swipe again to hear that it had been completed. So shipping completed. It's two swipes. Same for billing. We had to swipe for billing. It would say billing, swipe again for it to say it's a completed step. So what we did was we modified the code so that when the user first swipes to the shipping link, it reads out shipping completed. And then the next swipe to billing, it said billing in progress. So very, very minor, but it probably made a pretty huge improvement to that component as well. And it was a very quick change. Progress bar with text is the next component. This is a third-party library implementation that we used. So we had to ensure that the accessibility requirements were correct, including the proper ARIA roles and labeling, along with the maximum minimum values communicated accurately to the users using a screen reader. So as we continue our journey of our migration to Angular and our components, a critical part of this transition is the transformation of our content management system components, which is CMS for short. So our CMS is the backbone of how our content is created, managed, and delivered on our sites. So here's how we approach the migration of dozens of CMS components over to Angular. So each component went through a thorough manual and automated validation, including keyboard operability, focus states and order, alternative text, semantic elements, and color contrast. And equally as important for CMS components is how these components are used by our content authors. So we have ongoing trainings focused on accessible CMS usage. For example, we emphasize the importance of adding alt text to images because that is the responsibility of our content authors. It's important for them to know that. So as we move on to the next and final segment of our journey, we enter the cornerstone, and that is the accessible feature migration. So this phase is where our commitment to accessibility transitions from the foundational components and system-wide enhancements to the actual finer technical details. So with the inspiration of Magenta Ally, which I'll mention in a couple slides, I have built the accessibility acceptance criteria library that we use in all of our JIRA tickets. This library streamlines the creation of tickets by providing predefined acceptance criteria. On the left of the slide, we can see the benefits a library like this can provide. It saves time. So just being able to copy and paste requirements is fast and easy. Ensures quality. So it's consistent with formatting, it's standardized. It reduces error because it minimizes mistakes in specifying the requirements. It facilitates collaboration, which again is huge for a large company like ours. It's easier for our teams to understand and work on the features with clearly written criteria. And then finally, the mobile and desktop acceptance criteria, they're actually combined. So it makes it a little easier to read and it covers more in less words. So on the right-hand side of the slide, I have included the acceptance criteria of a single button. Again, this would be copied from our library and then pasted into our tickets from our product teams. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this criteria real quick. For the button AC, when I use a keyboard and screen reader and move focus to the button label, I see that it receives a visible focus outline. I hear, or a visible indicator, apologies. I hear the following, the label, button label, that it will open a modal dialog if applicable, its state, collapsed, expanded, if applicable, and it identifies as a button. So this criteria, it covers, again, both keyboard and screen reader navigation. It mentions that the button should have an accessible name. It covers the focus state. It covers the state when applicable, so it'll get announced to a screen reader if its state is expanded or collapsed. And finally, the criteria covers the button's role. So this level of detail, it ensures that every button that contains this acceptance criteria should be properly accessible when followed. So moving on to the next slide, I have an even larger example. So this acceptance criteria, it covers modals. So there's a little more involved than a button, but I wanted to show just a larger example of kind of how this all is put together. So when I use a keyboard and screen reader and move focus to the modal trigger button, I see that the button receives a visible focus and outline. I hear its label, so label, this action opens a modal dialog, and I hear it identifies as a button. So that little part right there is just about the modal trigger button, ensuring that it acts the way it should. Then when I open the modal, I see that the modal receives a visible focus outline. I hear the modal's title, and then I am unable to tab to interactive items outside the modal, which is desktop only. Then when I move focus to the close button, I see that the button receives a visible focus outline. I hear its label, close button, or close modal, and then I hear it identifies itself as a button. And then finally, when I perform the close button's action, or when I press the escape key on desktop only, I see that the modal closes and I see the focus is returned to the modal trigger button. So that was a lot to say, But having this in a ticket is handy, and I think it's pretty easy to read and follow from a developer and a testing standpoint. So this library, it's always improving, it's expanding, and it now includes detailed accessibility criteria for a diverse array of components. So here I have some components that we have completed criteria for, as well as some of the major callouts I wanted to ensure were included. For example, any auto-rotating carousels that we may have should have a pause and play toggle. Um, so I made sure that we had criteria that covers that. We have form error validation. We ensure that the error announcements for screen readers are as expected and the labels are present and accessible. And again, this library, it's not static. It's constantly growing and improving as we continue our migration. And again, I wanted to call out the development and continued improvement of our library has been greatly inspired by Magenta Ally. So Magenta Ally is a tool built to simplify the process of accessibility testing. And what I love the most about this tool is that it includes both desktop and mobile acceptance criteria examples, appropriate screen reader considerations. They use the Gherkin language, so the given, the I see, the I hear, then, and they also have mobile screen reader gestures, which I find super, super helpful. So I mentioned our accessibility acceptance criteria library. All those ACs are included in our tickets, but that's not enough during a migration. So we have optimized how accessibility considerations are integrated into our project management workflows, specifically within Jira. So here are the steps that we take at Signet to ensure accessibility is front and center within our ticketing process. We start with an audit. So beginning with an accessibility audit of our components as they currently exist in production. We then identify areas of improvement, and with the help of an accessibility SME, we provide documentation such as technical notes for developers within the ticket so that the developer on the ticket knows how to move forward with the development. We then add the accessibility acceptance criteria where applicable. So does this component contain a button? Does it contain a modal? Does it contain a form? We ensure that every piece of the component puzzle has its own AC included in the ticket. And accessibility, it's a team effort, right? Ensuring that we have an accessibility subject matter expert or developer champion available to provide support to the product teams, development teams, testing teams to ensure that any questions are answered and they have the support that they need. And then we, the accessibility SMEs, provide the final validation. So when the team confirms that the development and the testing efforts are completed for the feature and the ticket, the SME does the final sign-off to confirm compliance. So next up, we have the adoption of our automated tools. And this has been such a game changer for us. And by integrating these tools into our development process, we've not only sustained, but we've enhanced our accessibility scores, which is fantastic. Starting with the automated tool implementation, we used Node Selenium WebDriver for automated accessibility testing. And this has allowed us to conduct thorough and efficient scans of high traffic pages across multiple sites. Next, we focus on the strategic remediation. So prioritizing our quick wins, right? Those fixes that are both critical to accessibility and can be implemented quickly. So by leveraging our shared code base across all of our websites, we've been able to extend these quick fixes across all the sites at once, which has been great. And then finally, the results, they do speak for themselves. We've recorded a significant improvement, all because of these automated tools. We have recorded a significant improvement in our accessibility scores since we leveraged them. So beyond the metrics, there's been an enhanced awareness and understanding of accessibility among our teams. And it has been just a tremendous and positive cultural shift towards prioritizing accessibility, which again, I think is just fantastic. So shift to Angular. So as we embrace those automated tools for better accessibility, we kind of shift our view over to Angular, which marks just a strategic move towards our future in technology. So evolution in technology, moving to Angular from legacy systems, it enhances our platform's robustness and adaptability, harnessing Angular's capabilities for a more interactive and seamless user experience, right? So we have Spotlight on issues. With Angular, the shift over to Angular includes inline scripts and custom HTML clashing more with the Angular structure norms. So we had to adapt our code base. We had to make changes to accommodate for that. Um, Performance enhancements. So by leveraging Angular's optimization features, we were prompted towards cleaner coding practices. So keeping us honest, right? And then we had our stricter code quality needs. So Angular demands higher coding standards, just leading to more stable and efficient solutions. So in essence, Angular, it's not just a technology shift. It's a commitment. It's our commitment to future-proofing our digital presence. And again, keeping us honest and committed to development best practices and accessibility. So SPAs, or single page applications, they require enhanced accessibility efforts for certain features. And SPAs dynamically update content without refreshing the entire page. So this provides a smoother user experience, but it does require extra special attention to accessibility. For example, we have unique page titles for SPAs. In traditional websites, each page reload updates the page title, which is crucial for assistive technologies to inform users about the current page. For SPAs, however, they don't change the page titles within the navigation. So this can be confusing for users that rely on screen readers. And to tackle this, we integrated Angular's services, which are capable of dynamically updating those page titles for us, and just ensuring that the page's purpose is always clear. Next up, we have live regions. So SPAs often update the content in real time without page refreshes. And that makes it can make it challenging to communicate changes to the users with assistive technologies. So what we do is we leverage tools like the Angular CDK Live Announcer to manage these dynamic changes, ensuring that the users are always informed of changes in content. And an example would be maybe a load more button within our product listing pages that just dynamically start loading more and more products on the click of a button. Navigational focus. So that is the final one. Navigating between views in an SPA, it doesn't automatically shift the user's focus to the new content. And that could disorient users relying on keyboard navigation and screen readers. And to create a seamless navigation experience, we implemented strategies to actually manage that focus. And this involved setting focus on new content or the main element of the page whenever those views would change, just ensuring that the users can easily follow along. They don't get lost. So by addressing these key areas, we enhance the accessibility of our SPA. So in closing, I would like to leave you all with a slide of recommended resources. It's calling out specifically Magenta Ally. DeQ has a fantastic web accessibility checklist that I know my colleague Stephanie swears by. DeQ has a screen reader quick reference guides. I use that all the time. UK.gov component library. We actually have UK websites as part of Signet Jewelers, so we did visit this site quite frequently. And the components, the US web design system. And again, our journey towards migrating Signet's e-commerce sites to Angular, it wasn't just about embracing that new technology. It was about commitment to inclusivity, accessibility, and creating an online space where everyone can navigate and shop with ease. So this journey has been a step towards fulfilling our promise to inspire love, which is our mission, and not just through our products, but through every interaction on our platforms. So thank you so much to Q for hosting me today, and to my incredible team and Stephanie, who helped get us to this point in our journey and co-developed this presentation with me. So thanks, Stephanie.
Oh, Great job, Amanda. Attendees loved the content and have a lot of actually really good questions.
Sure.
So let's get through them if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Um, cool. I'm gonna go with this one first. Can you share the automated accessibility tools that your team incorporated in your workflow?
Yeah, so our teams utilize the Axe browser extension to test their features. And fun fact, as part of the acceptance criteria in all of our tickets, we included acceptance criteria for mandating the use of the Axe browser extension, just to identify and resolve any accessibility violations before proceeding to the testing phase. We
Awesome.
also utilized the Axe DevTools that was paired with our Node Selenium WebDriver solution to scan our pages, our high traffic pages across all of our sites.
Okay. And how did you and your team monitor the evaluation to evaluate the accessibility performance of your websites over time?
Yeah, to track and evaluate our progress, we use the Axe Reports tool. And
Oh,
this powerful solution, it enabled us to aggregate those test results and monitor the improvement in all of our accessibility scores over time.
awesome. Can you elaborate on the user testing methods you utilize to gather feedback?
Yeah, for user testing, we worked with Fable. And
Okay.
Fable is a platform that specializes in accessibility testing conducted by individuals with disabilities. And so this collaboration, it allowed us to actually receive direct feedback from a user navigating like our product listing pages, for example. And this happened in real time. We were getting feedback, and we were able to take those insights back over to our product teams and our designers, and it led to us redesigning some of those workflows prior to our migration to Angular. So that was really cool, and we plan to utilize that more in the future.
Awesome. I have one here from Robin. Um, Said, I love the accessibility acceptance criteria, but did you also cover the needs of speech recognition users? This is something that that has caused my team problems, particularly with modals.
That is a good question. No, that's something that we should definitely explore as well. Maybe we should join the community, see if there's something out there.
Awesome. What challenges did you face in integrating accessibility into your agile workflow?
So integrating accessibility, it presented some challenges, such as ensuring that accessibility considerations were included in every sprint, and at the time was allocated for accessibility testing, right? And to overcome these challenges, we made accessibility as part of our definition of done for every user story. So we also incorporated accessibility testing tools again as part of our development process. And we held regular training sessions to ensure the team understood the importance of accessibility. And even hopped in, we had some office hours. We were helping some teams out, just answer questions as part of the process of including accessibility in the tickets.
Okay, that's awesome. A lot of accessibility journey in here. I love it. Um, from Helen, migrations are typically viewed as a technical project guided by engineering leaders. How are you able to get non-technical roles involved in the effort and highlight the business case for such an endeavor?
Yeah, so getting everybody involved, getting everybody collaborating together, this was something that we didn't want to hold just on our developers themselves, right? We didn't want to hold our developers or our testers accountable. This was something that we wanted to work together as a team because this is a group effort to ensure that accessibility is followed going forward. It's something everybody should know, even product owners, business analysts, to be more aware of, what to look out for. They get tickets that may end up in their queue. They need to be able to say, oh, well, let's say this exists in the ticket. We need to make sure that accessibility acceptance criteria is included. It's just awareness, and it's something that we would like to continue to grow together as a company.
Awesome. That's great. Here's one. How accessible were the libraries and the components from the outset? Did a lot of rewriting have to be done to ensure accessibility? That's a really good question.
So our design system, we did make some improvements to our components that we used. We had some, again, we had a couple from like the APG. We were able to completely redo a couple of them, like the drop downs. Our CMS components did require a little bit of rebuilding as well, because a lot of them were kind of out of the box. So ensuring that those were migrated over to the Angular solution, we tried to identify all those areas of improvements. And I would say, I would say that we did redo a good chunk of the CMS components that were out of the box. But comparatively speaking, our design system, I would say, was pretty accessible already. That was kind of
Awesome.
our foundation, our basis, right? Where we start.
Okay. See, who was responsible for writing the accessibility acceptance criteria? Where do we start with writing them? Are there any templates or common accessibility criteria that you would recommend?
So I wrote them just originally just to have as part of our migration over to Angular, and who implements that right now. So I would write those in the tickets because I'm part of that migration project at the time. But we also have our product team, some of them owning that as well. So they are going to we host it all on Confluence. So they go to
Okay.
Confluence, they'll grab whatever they need and paste it into the tickets. Um, I'm sorry, what was the next part of that question, Michael?
Yep. Where do we start with writing them? Are there any templates or common accessibility or acceptance criteria that you would recommend?
Again, I would recommend Magenta Ally hands down. I use that as the entire inspiration for the acceptance criteria library that I've written. Again, it includes mobile and desktop ACs. It includes screen readers, includes mobile gestures. It's really neat. I use that and I just combined that information into one. When I say combined into one, I take the desktop and the mobile, I take the screen reader and the keyboard navigability and just kind of combine it all to make it a little shorter for our tickets.
Awesome. I'm going to add on to that a little bit. What are there any additional resources that you would recommend for those new to web accessibility?
Oh, sure. So I recommend if you're starting out with web accessibility, start off with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG for short, for a comprehensive just understanding of the standards. Websites like WebAIM, W3C, which is Web Accessibility Initiative, they offer just valuable resources and tools. But additionally, DeQ offers courses too. I believe DeQ University offers courses too that cover a wide range of those topics related to accessibility. And I know that the DeQ's blog also provides a lot of updates on the latest trends. So definitely a good place to start there.
Awesome. And someone asked, can we get a copy of the slides for further reading links? I believe the slides are going to be part of the sessions page, so please be on the lookout for those. But I think that's all.